Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. It's awesome to have you here as we dig into a topic that I think is super relevant to a lot of you.
Oh,
Yeah. We're going to be talking about maintaining financial freedom.
okay, great.
So this is for the folks out there who have already achieved that amazing milestone, that financial independence, but now it's like, okay, how do I keep this going? How do I not just preserve, but actually grow my wealth over the long haul?
Right.
And for this deep dive, we've got an amazing collection of articles, blog posts, and even some excerpts from interviews with financial experts. And I was looking through all this material, and I gotta say, some of the stuff is like kind of counterintuitive, you
Yeah, isn't
know?
it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like one of the things that kept popping up was this idea of avoiding lifestyle inflation,
Hmm.
even when your income grows, you
Yeah.
know?
It's so tempting, though.
Oh, totally. But the sources we have really stress that it can be a silent wealth killer, you know?
Yeah, it
It's
is.
like, imagine you've got this boat, right? And it's slowly taking on water. So to stay afloat, you got to be bailing out the water faster than it's coming in. That's what it's like with lifestyle inflation. You're making more money, but if your spending is increasing at the same rate or even faster, you're not really getting ahead.
Right, you're just treading water.
Exactly. And that's why these sources keep saying that maintaining financial freedom often requires even more discipline than achieving it in the first place.
That makes sense, yeah. Because it's a constant process, right? You're always adjusting to new situations, maybe a new job, a growing family. The economic landscape changes. So you can't just hit cruise control and expect to stay financially free. It takes that ongoing effort, that vigilance.
That's actually a really good point. It's not like a one-time achievement. It's like a constant recalibration.
Absolutely. It's a mindset, a way of life.
So let's dig into some of the specific strategies that these sources suggest for maintaining this financial freedom. And one of the big ones that kept coming up was this idea of conscious spending.
Right. It's about being intentional, deliberate with your spending choices.
Yeah, so it's not just about denying yourself all the fun stuff.
No, not at all.
It's more about pausing before you make a purchase and asking yourself, do I really need this or do I just want this?
Right. And one of the sources even share this really powerful anecdote from a financial advisor who had helped a client achieve financial freedom, but then saw them quickly lose it due to uncontrolled spending. The advisor said, "After achieving financial freedom, I realized that maintaining it required the same discipline and strategic planning that got me there. I made a conscious effort to avoid lifestyle inflation, even as my income grew. I continued to prioritize mindful spending, focusing on experiences and personal growth over material possessions."
That's actually really insightful. It's like even when you've reached that level of success, you can't just let go of the habits and mindset that got you there.
Exactly.
Okay, but I can already hear some of you thinking, wait a minute, doesn't this mean I can never buy myself nice things? Like, what was the point of all that hard work if I can't enjoy the fruits of my labor?
Right, but it's not about, depriving yourself. It's about making sure that your spending aligns with your values and your long-term goals. And, a lot of the sources actually frame this idea of conscious spending as a form of minimalism.
Minimalism, huh?
Yeah, not in the sense of living with bare walls and just two shirts, but minimalism in the sense of being very intentional at what you bring into your life and making sure that everything you own serves a purpose.
Okay, that makes sense.
Right. So it's about owning things that add value to your life, experiences, relationships, and personal growth, rather than just accumulating stuff for the sake of it.
Okay, that's a good shift in perspective. It's about quality over quantity.
Exactly. And it's about aligning your spending with your values.
Now, another major theme that ran through all these sources was the power of reinvesting earnings for long-term growth.
The magic of compound growth.
Yeah. And I love how one of the sources described it like a snowball rolling downhill, you know?
Yeah.
It starts small, but as it rolls, it picks up more and more snow, getting bigger and bigger.
And faster.
Right. That's what happens when you reinvest your earnings, whether it's from dividends, capital gains, or even rental income. That money is now working for you, generating more money.
And then that money generates even more money.
It's a beautiful cycle. But I guess for someone who's already achieved financial freedom, why is reinvesting such a game changer?
Well, think of it this way. Let's say you've achieved financial freedom by generating a certain amount of passive income from your investments, right?
Right.
So you're good, you're covered. But by reinvesting a portion of those earnings, you're not just staying at that level, you're actually increasing it.
Oh, I see.
So your passive income stream grows over time. giving you even greater financial security and potentially opening up new opportunities. Maybe you can pursue a passion project you've always dreamed of, or even retire earlier than planned.
So it's like leveling UP, your financial freedom. It's not just about maintaining, it's about accelerating.
Exactly. And, a lot of people who've achieved financial freedom talk about how that sense of security, that knowing they have this growing income stream, gives them incredible peace of mind and actually allows them to take more risks in other areas of their life.
Oh, that makes sense. So it's like a positive feedback loop.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about conscious spending, reinvesting earnings. There's another big theme that the source material kept emphasizing, and honestly, I was so surprised by this one.
What's that?
The importance of ongoing financial education.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I gotta admit, when I first saw this, I was like, wait a minute, if I've already reached financial freedom, why do I need to keep learning? Shouldn't I be like relaxing on a beach somewhere?
Right, but I think that's a common misconception. The truth is, the financial world is constantly changing. There are always new investment opportunities popping up, tax laws get revised, and the global economy is always in flux. So to stay ahead of the curve, you need to be constantly learning and adapting.
Okay, I see. So it's not about like becoming a financial guru overnight.
No, not at all.
It's more about making a commitment to continuous learning.
Exactly. Think of it like sharpening your tools. A dull axe won't cut down a tree very efficiently.
Mm.
And the same goes for your financial knowledge and skills. If you're not keeping them sharp, you're not going to be able to make the best decisions for your money.
That's a really great analogy. But for someone with a jam-packed schedule, job, family, all that stuff, how do you even find the time for ongoing financial education?
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge. But the sources offer some really practical tips for fitting it into a busy life. Like, you can subscribe to financial newsletters that just give you the key takeaways,
Okay.
or listen to podcasts
Oh,
like this one, of course, during your commute.
oh there you go.
You could even just spend 15 minutes each day reading a financial blog or article.
So it's about finding those little pockets of time and making them count.
Exactly. And another great way to learn is by joining online communities or forums where you can connect with other people who are interested in finance. It's a great way to share ideas, get different perspectives, and learn from each other's experiences.
That's a great idea, kind of like a financial support group.
Exactly. And it can be really motivating to connect with people who are on the same journey as you.
Okay, so we've covered conscious spending, reinvesting earnings, and ongoing financial education. Let's move on to something that might not be as fun to think about, but it's equally important: risk management and protection.
Oh, yeah. That's crucial.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of people, when they hear risk management, they automatically think about insurance.
Right.
And while insurance is definitely a key part of it, the sources really emphasize that it's just one piece of a much bigger puzzle, right?
Yeah, it's about having a multi-layered approach.
So, what else are we talking about here?
Well, one of the most fundamental things is having a solid emergency fund.
Okay, emergency funds. We all know we're supposed to have them. But for someone who's already achieved financial freedom, is it really that important?
Yeah,
What?
actually it is.
Yeah.
Because, a lot of people think, well, I've got my investments, that's my safety net.
Right?
But investments aren't really meant to be tapped into for short-term needs. And the sources were very clear about this. An emergency fund is specifically designed to cover unexpected expenses without having to touch your long-term investments.
Okay, so it's like having a separate financial cushion for those unexpected life events, those just-in-case moments that, let's face it, we all face at some point.
Exactly. It could be a sudden job loss, a medical emergency, or even a major home repair. Life throws curveballs, and you want to be prepared.
So we're talking about having enough cash set aside to cover 6 months of living expenses, right?
Yeah, ideally 6 to 12 months.
Mhm.
I know it sounds like a lot, but trust me, having that buffer can make all the difference in your ability to navigate those tough times without derailing your long-term financial plan. It's peace of mind.
It's like that sense of security knowing you've got a backup plan.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it allows you to make clear decisions in a crisis
Yeah.
because you're not panicking about money.
Okay, so we've got our emergency fund, and you mentioned insurance earlier. The sources also talked a lot about making sure you have adequate coverage, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Insurance is another critical layer of protection.
So we're talking health insurance, life insurance, disability insurance.
Right, and property insurance too. It's about safeguarding yourself from those catastrophic events that could wipe out your savings.
Yeah.
An accident, a major illness, a natural disaster. These things can happen, and you don't want to be caught unprepared.
Okay, but I gotta be honest. Thinking about all this what if stuff can feel a little overwhelming.
Yeah, it's not exactly the most cheerful topic.
No.
But the thing is, by acknowledging these potential risks and taking steps to mitigate them, you're actually taking control of your financial future. You're saying, hey, I'm not just going to hope for the best, I'm going to be prepared for whatever comes my way.
Okay, I like that sense of
It's
empowerment.
about being proactive,
Yeah.
right? Taking those steps now to protect yourself and your loved ones in the future.
Now, there's one more aspect of risk management and protection that we haven't touched on yet, estate planning. And I know it's not the most exciting topic, but I'm curious why the sources emphasized it as being crucial even for those in the earlier stages of financial freedom.
It's a good question.
Hmm.
And, a lot of people think estate planning is just about what happens to your money after you're gone.
Right.
But it's so much more than that. It's about ensuring that your loved ones are taken care of in case of incapacity or unforeseen circumstances. It's about having a plan in place so that your wishes are carried out and your family is protected.
Okay, so it's not just about death. It's about any situation where you might not be able to manage your finances yourself.
Exactly. And the sources were really clear that estate planning isn't something to put off until later. It's something to start thinking about now while you're healthy and able to make those decisions.
Yeah, it makes sense to be proactive about it.
Exactly. And it can be as simple as creating a will or designating beneficiaries for your accounts.
Okay, so it's not necessarily this huge, complicated thing. It can be broken down into manageable steps.
Absolutely. And the peace of mind it gives you is priceless.
This is already so much to think about.
I know, right?
We've covered mindful spending, strategic investing, ongoing financial education, and now risk management and protection. It's a lot to process.
It is.
But don't worry, we're not done yet. In the next part of our dupe dive, we're going to take all this information and make it actionable. We'll be talking about specific steps you can take to put these principles into practice and create a rock-solid plan for maintaining your financial freedom long-term.
It's going to be good. I'm excited.
Me too.
Yeah.
So stay tuned, and we'll see you back here soon for part 2.
See you then. It's a lot to take in, isn't it?
It is. I mean, all these different pieces of the puzzle. Where do we even begin putting all this into practice? It's easy to feel kind of overwhelmed, honestly.
You're right. It can feel like a lot.
Yeah.
But that's where those practical exercises from the sources come in.
Oh, right. The ones on like reviewing your budget and diversifying your investment portfolio and like getting your estate planning in order.
Exactly. They're a fantastic starting point for actually, taking action.
Okay, that makes sense. But honestly, even just hearing the word budget makes me want to like hide under a blanket.
I get it.
It can feel so restrictive, like I'm putting myself on a financial diet or something.
I understand that feeling, totally. But what if, instead of viewing a budget as this, restriction, we thought about it more like a financial fitness plan?
Okay.
So it's not about deprivation. It's about being intentional with your resources, like, taking care of your financial health, just like you take care of your physical health.
Okay, I like that analogy. It's like instead of focusing on what I can't have, I'm focusing on how to make the most of what I do have.
Right. Exactly. And the first step, which all the sources emphasized, is knowing where your money is actually going. So tracking your spending.
Yeah, that's always the part I dread. Spreadsheets and receipts. Ugh.
Oh, I know. It can be a pain. But there are tons of apps that can make it super easy. And even if you just do it for like a month or two, it can give you so much insight.
Okay, so let's say we've done that. We've got a handle on where our money's going. Then what?
That's where the real fun begins. Analyzing that spending, looking for places to optimize.
Okay, like what? Give me some examples.
Well, are there any subscriptions you're paying for that you don't really use?
Ooh, probably.
Can you negotiate a lower rate on your car insurance or your cell phone bill?
Maybe. Worth a shot.
Are you spending more on like eating out or entertainment than you realized? It's about finding those little leaks in your financial book.
The things that add up without you even noticing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like being a financial detective.
Ooh, I like that. Okay, I'm kind of getting into this now. So we've tracked our spending, we've identified some areas we can optimize, and then we create a budget, right? A financial fitness plan.
Yes.
Yeah.
And remember, it's not about being perfect. It's about progress,
Progress, not perfection. Got it.
making small, consistent changes that will add up over time.
Okay, cool. Now, what about diversifying investments? That was another biggie in those sources, and it's something that honestly still makes me a little nervous. It's like, where do I even start? There are so many options: stocks, bonds, real estate, cryptocurrency.
I know, it can be overwhelming. But remember, you don't need to be an expert overnight.
Thank goodness.
A lot of the sources talked about the importance of just starting somewhere and gradually expanding your knowledge in your portfolio as you go.
Okay, so baby steps.
Exactly. And one of the first things you can do is look at your current investment portfolio and see how diversified it actually is.
So, like, am I putting all my eggs in one basket?
Right. Are you too heavily invested in any one asset class or sector? If you are, it might be time to branch out.
Okay.
And a lot of the sources said that this is where working with a qualified financial advisor can be really helpful.
Yeah, because trying to figure it all out on my own can feel a bit like, I don't know, trying to perform brain surgery on myself.
That's a great analogy.
Right.
Like,
Like, I wouldn't even know where to begin.
exactly. So a financial advisor can help you understand the different types of investments, assess your risk tolerance, and create a plan that aligns with your goals.
So it's like having a personal trainer for your money.
Yeah, someone who can guide you and help you make informed decisions. And the sources highlighted that diversification isn't just about spreading your investments across different asset classes.
Okay.
It's also about geographic diversification, investing in different parts of the world.
Oh, right. So not just putting all my eggs in one basket, but making sure those baskets are in different rooms. Okay, that makes sense. Now, let's switch gears to that last thing we touched on before, insurance and estate planning. Not exactly the most fun topics, but super important.
I agree, definitely not the most glamorous, but crucial for protecting your financial future.
Yeah, I've been meaning to get my estate planning in order, but it just seems so complicated.
It can seem that way, but it doesn't have to be. What if we just break it down into smaller steps?
Okay.
And instead of thinking about it as this big, daunting task, what if we reframe it as a way to protect the things that matter most to you?
That's a good way to look at it. So where do we even begin?
Well, the first thing, which all the sources really emphasized, is to gather all your important financial documents.
Okay, like what kind of documents are we talking about?
Things like your will,
Mhm.
any trusts you might have,
Mhm.
beneficiary designations for your retirement accounts, that sort of thing. Make sure everything's up to date and reflects your current wishes.
Right, so it's like taking a financial inventory.
Exactly. Get everything organized and accounted for. And once you have a clear picture of your current situation, then you can start thinking about your specific estate planning goals.
Okay, and that's where I start to get lost again. What exactly are estate planning goals? What am I supposed to be thinking about?
It's about considering what you want to happen to your assets. If you were to become incapacitated or pass away,
Okay.
do you want to make sure your loved ones are taken care of?
Of course.
Are there any specific charities or causes you want to support?
Yeah, that's important to me too.
Okay, so it's about making sure your wishes are carried out and your legacy is aligned with your values.
Okay, I like that. Legacy planning. It sounds a lot less scary than estate planning. But if I'm being honest, I still feel like I need some help with all of this.
And that's totally okay. A lot of the sources recommended consulting with an estate planning attorney, especially if you have any complex situations.
Okay, so they can help make sure everything is legally sound.
Exactly. And they can guide you through the process and answer any questions you might have.
That's reassuring. I think I'm starting to see estate planning in a new light now. Not as this thing to be afraid of, but as a way to protect my family and make sure my wishes are honored.
That's exactly it. It's about taking control and creating a sense of security, both for yourself and your loved ones.
This has been so helpful, but let's be real, life gets crazy, and it's easy to let all this stuff slide. How do we stay on top of our finances, even when things get hectic? Like, how do we make these changes and actually stick to them?
That's a great question. And it brings us to another key point that the sources talked about, developing good financial habits.
Habits, huh?
It's like brushing your teeth or exercising. It's about making those good financial practices a part of your routine.
Okay, I can get behind that. Small, consistent actions over time. So what are some practical tips for building those good financial habits?
Well, one strategy that a lot of the sources recommended is automation.
Ooh, I like automation. Makes things easier.
Right. So set up automatic transfers to your savings and investment accounts each month. That way you don't even have to think about it. It just happens.
It's like paying yourself first before anything else.
Exactly. And then another helpful tip is to schedule regular check-ins with yourself to, review your budget, track your progress towards your goals, make any adjustments.
So it's like putting it on the calendar like a doctor's appointment, but for my finances.
Exactly. It helps to keep you accountable and on track.
Okay, that makes sense. But even with the best intentions, things happen. Unexpected expenses, job loss. how do we prepare for those curveballs that life inevitably throws our way?
Well, that's where those emergency funds and risk management strategies we talked about earlier come in. Remember, building that financial cushion to protect yourself.
Right, that 6 to 12 months of living expenses you mentioned.
Exactly. It's there to help you navigate those tough times without having to raid your retirement accounts or go into debt.
Okay, I'm starting to see how all this stuff fits together. It's like building a financial fortress, protecting yourself from all sides.
Exactly. It's a holistic approach to financial well-being. It's not just about the money. It's about creating a life of security, freedom, and purpose.
That's amazing. But I have to admit, I'm still feeling a little nervous about market volatility. It just feels so unpredictable.
Yeah, market volatility can definitely feel like a roller coaster ride sometimes.
I get it. Those ups and downs can be unnerving. But what's interesting is that a lot of the sources we looked at actually emphasize that volatility is just a normal part of investing. It's like, it's gonna happen, you know?
So it's not something to be afraid of?
Not really. It's more like, like the weather. You can't control it, but you can prepare for it.
So instead of trying to, I don't know, time the market or avoid the dips altogether,
Correct.
it's more about having a strategy that can handle those fluctuations.
Exactly. And one of the best ways to do that is by, sticking to your long-term investment plan. Remember that snowball analogy?
The one about compound growth. Yeah, that snowball's not going to grow if you keep stopping it and starting it again, right?
Right. It needs that momentum. So we're talking about writing out those short-term dips and focusing on a bigger picture.
Exactly. The sources even suggested that, if you're feeling anxious during a market downturn, it can actually be helpful to go back and revisit your investment goals.
Oh, to remind yourself why you're investing in the first place.
Yeah, because that can help you stay grounded, focused on your long-term vision, instead of getting caught up in all the day-to-day noise.
That's a great tip. It's like having a financial anchor to keep you steady when the seas get rough.
Exactly. Now, speaking of things that can feel a little rough, what about staying ahead of those ever-changing tax laws?
Ooh, yeah, that's definitely one of my least favorite parts of managing money. It's like, as soon as I think I've got it figured out, the rules change.
I hear, Matt, tax laws can definitely be a moving target. But a lot of the sources we looked at said that even just staying informed can make a huge difference.
So, like making a habit of, I don't know, checking for any new tax laws each year.
Exactly. And consulting with a tax professional if you need to.
Yeah.
Think of it like a financial checkup, making sure your strategies are still working for you.
Okay, so regular checkups for my taxes. Got it.
And of course, the sources also emphasized making the most of those tax-advantaged investment accounts, like IRAs and 401ks.
Right. Those can really help lower your tax bill, can't they?
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've covered mindful spending, strategic investing, continuous learning, risk management, and even navigating those tricky tax waters. Anything else we should be thinking about when it comes to maintaining financial freedom long term?
There's one more thing that I think is really important, and it actually came up in a couple of the sources, leaving a legacy,
Mm.
for future generations.
Oh, wow. I have to admit that's not something I've really thought about too much yet. Seems a little far off.
I understand. But the way the sources presented it was really interesting. They were talking about legacy planning, not as something you do at the end of your financial journey, but as something that can actually enrich your experience along the way.
Okay, how so?
Well, it's about aligning your financial decisions with your values and aspirations for the future.
So it's like thinking about the impact I want to make, not just for myself, but for the world around me.
Exactly. And for the people you care about.
Oh.
What kind of legacy do you want to leave behind? What values do you want to pass on? What causes are you passionate about?
Wow, that's really powerful. It's like taking financial planning to a whole new level.
Right. It's not just about the numbers anymore. It's about purpose and meaning.
I love that. So, what are some practical ways to start thinking about legacy planning? I mean, it all seems a bit, I don't know, overwhelming.
It doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
You can start by simply having conversations with your family about your values and aspirations. What's important to you? What do you hope to achieve?
Okay, that's a good starting point. Just opening up that dialogue.
Yeah, exactly. And from there, you can explore different ways to incorporate legacy planning into your financial strategy, like, maybe setting up a charitable giving plan or creating educational funds for your loved ones.
That's amazing. This whole deep dive has been so eye-opening. We've covered so much ground from budgeting to investing to legacy planning. I feel like I have a much clearer understanding of what it really means to maintain financial freedom.
That's great to hear. And remember, it's a journey. There will be ups and downs. But by staying informed, being adaptable, and, proactive, you can create a life of true abundance and purpose.
This has been an amazing conversation. Thank you so much for sharing your insights. I know our listeners are walking away with a ton of valuable information.
My pleasure. It was great being here.
And for everyone listening out there, remember, the most important step is to take action. Don't let this knowledge just sit there. What's one small step you can take today to strengthen your long-term financial security? Think about it, write it down, and make it happen. You've got this. And until next time, keep diving deep and keep reaching for your financial goals.